So in this segment, I've got our three wonderful DeFord Insurance Group trainers and Stephen up at the front. I want to first start off by thanking everybody up here. At the beginning of January, we made a change to DeFord Insurance Group in the sense that I had done everything up to that point myself. My vision for my business was to be kind of like I do everything and have no employees because I never wanted them. But like many of the things in life, we find out we're our own obstacle, right? And we have to work through that. And the best thing I ever did in this business was bring all four of these guys up here. They've done a more than fantastic job in training our agents, supporting them better than I ever could on our own. So first, I want to give you guys a thorough thank you, and I'd like everybody to give them a round of applause. Also in the back, I thank Marty too. Marty helped a ton setting up the event, so thank you, Marty, as well. So we're gonna do kind of a Q&A style like we did a little bit earlier with Chris, but with the managers, and talk about the business, talk about their backgrounds, talk about what it takes to be successful. And I think what you're going to hear is a unique convergence of opinions because they see and train all sorts of agents. And what you've got to do as a new agent is figure out how can I be as successful as possible, because the failure rate is 95%. Some people say it's 9%, it's probably 95%. So we want to take steps to avoid that as much as humanly possible. I think having the perspectives of not just people who train you guys, but who have been in the same situation as you, I think those are valuable insights to have. So let's do this. First of all, if there's questions as we go through this, feel free to ask. Happy to have your questions answered as we go. Why don't we start with Joe? What makes a successful agent? Give us a couple of like highlights, first things to think of when it comes to selling final expense successfully.
Y'all
Y'all got to switch up here because we're going to be passing this thing around here. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I got to do a little.
Okay, Joe, you get that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. First off, they treat training, initial training, like their full-time job. They're rehearsing the scripts. They have an attitude to learn. They definitely do not have control issues where they have to do like a hybrid of what they want and maybe seep in what the system is. So they're willing to be teachable, be a student, treat training like a full-time job, and then when they get out to the field, they are putting in the activity. And that's the thing, working the amount of hours it takes and working well into the evening most field days. So the intensity of the training, treating it like a full-time job, and the work ethic when they get out into the field.
Stephen, why don't you go ahead and comment on that as well? What makes a great agent, a successful agent?
The opposite of hard work is annuity. What makes a great agent? First, thank you for attending. I was thinking a couple of thoughts. One was what Chris said, and my theory is there's a difference between success and being significant. And I want to point out there's two guys in the room today that kind of exemplify what David's been doing. And Ryan's here. Ryan is an experienced agent, but wrote a great piece of business that him and I got together on. And Ryan's goes with the motto of what I picked up and I've done in my training is, what one man can do, another can do. What one man can do, another can do. In annuity, it looks big. It looks like it's very complicated. It's not. It looks like you got to learn, like unlike final expense, that you have to learn everything. You don't have to learn all the carriers. You have to learn the best carriers. But Ryan has allowed me to be significant because what happens when you work with new people is they allow you to be successful. These people put money in my pocket. They allow me to be successful, but I can be significant. He's got life-changing money that's taking care of his family. Dennis Pellegrini started recently. We're at $1.2 million now, about just under $1 million through. So he's now, I don't know if you guys know it or not, but on the table over there, there's a set of brass hubris orbs, and my business card You can sign up for to be on my call list. I'll be talking tomorrow for annuity. So if you want to talk to me, feel free to sign it. I put Warren Buffett's name first on the list just to impress you guys, but it's not real. But I'd be glad to talk to you. So I'm significant when I came here. It's different. Annuity is a different sell. A lot of people here talk about final expense. Why has annuity become extremely successful in Duford Insurance Group since we've started training? And it's really these guys, because these guys tell everybody to take your job seriously. And when you take your job seriously, what do you start doing? You start looking around for opportunities. And the only difference that we've done, because we've always had an annuity, well, not always, but for a long time, we've had an annuity guy that you could call to help. But by the fact that these guys are consistently having you go out in the field, taking your job seriously, looking for the next question. As a result of the next question, guys are going out and writing business. New, experienced agents, but they're asking the questions that allow them to do annuity. Now, to get back, David, what was the thing I was supposed to talk about? I have no idea.
I think you said enough. Let's ask Tim here. Well, Stephen's talking tomorrow, so don't worry. You'll get plenty of Stephen. So what you said was great. So Tim, give us some commentary. So
you have?
Yeah, so you hold on to that. Yeah.
Oh, so he went out and got a Bluetooth gadget, but didn't get two of them.
No, I got the other one.
You've got the
Yeah, sorry.
So this is a budget. This is a budget thing. I know it's a budget thing. I want my own next time. What's that? I want my own Bluetooth.
Okay. Yes, sir. All right. So Tim is our telesales trainer, of course, and telesales is different from face-to-face. Can you comment on what it takes to be successful over the phone, and what character traits, discipline, activity, et cetera, you think is vital for success?
So I'm thinking the definition of success is where you have more than enough for what you need. And how do you get more than enough for what you need, what your family needs? You have overflow. We could also define success as where you just sold one, but you're going to have to sell a lot more than that. So what I've seen in myself and now in many other people is that you need a business model as well as sales acumen. So you need to be able to sell, but you don't need to be some heavy-hitting, wildly talented salesperson to sell Mildred a policy. You need moderate talent. And then beneath that moderate talent is a business model that rises up your ship. If you imagine your talent as like a boat floating on the ocean, and the business model is rising the ocean up, so your success gets higher, not because you're better at closing, although you need to be good at closing. It's because you have this business model that can deliver you the highest quality leads at the cheapest price on the market at a high volume. You want 200 to 300 leads every week, so that you have more than enough for yourself, and you can now possibly help somebody else. And when you help somebody else, your ROI will multiply without additional expense. So I think that that's where it's at. Now, technically speaking, for telesales, you need to have a way of speaking and connecting with people so that they know that you actually care about them. They know you're on the phone with them. You're having an interaction with them, even though you're completely in control of that conversation, and you know where it's going to go. And that involves pacing, pausing, gaining attention from people on purpose with simple ways of speaking, and keeping people calm on the phone. So if I put somebody to sleep on the phone, it's either OxyContin, or it's because I got them so relaxed that they just sort of nodded off. And that's completely good for you. You don't necessarily need to be highly driven, coked out or whatever on the phone.
Can you define oxy, whatever you just said?
So the painkillers. It puts people to sleep. They're not out, right? The opiates. Anyways, so success on telesales is going to require that you have a way of speaking with people that they feel totally loved and cared for in some way, that you're actually having an interaction with them, and they'll buy into it. And you'll find that the more you push into that, the less boring it becomes, and the less resistance that you'll get. People are resisting you because they don't like you. And they don't like you because you haven't really had any kind of connection with them. And fishing isn't enough. Golf isn't enough. That's an icebreaker. Rapport is when they're crying. Rapport is when you tell them, wow, you have 6 grandkids? Oh my gosh, no, how many more are you gonna have? And you connect with her. You need to get their attention. And finally, everyone will tell you the same thing. You have to put time on task. There's just no way around it. So you could be, and this is one of the things that I've learned a long time ago with an agent many years ago. It was the most depressing thing I've ever known, but I'll tell you, he was the most talented sales agent I've ever known, Harvey Fry, and he wouldn't work for a damn, so he was worthless. Don't be Harvey Fry.
David, why don't you speak to, when we look at the sales presentation, over the phone or in person, not all parts are equal. There are some parts of the presentation that get you the most mileage, that are exponential in the return. What one part of the sales presentation do you feel, if the agents out there are watching or in here right now listening, would be the best to spend the most time on to get the most mileage out of?
Okay. First of all, you got to have lead money. I want to get to that first. I'll get to your question next.
That's okay.
I'm going to kind of piggyback. I do a different kind of program. It's a broker program. So we look at things a little differently. You got to have money. You got to have a plan. You've got to have an establishment in place that's going to make you successful. If you don't have that to start with, you're going to fail. Who was it? 90% said it this morning. I think it's 93%, to be honest with you. I think there's only 7% that make it. Why is that? They're not coachable. They don't have a plan. Somebody said earlier today, they have to have a plan every day. I'm the same way. If I don't have a plan, what am I going to do? I got to know what I'm going to do. I'm going to help people. I'm going to make a difference. Blinders on, money for leads, coachable, a little crazy, a little different, honestly.
Yeah.
Not your average Joe. 7% can't be average. Can't be. And then the last thing is use a program that is set up for you to grow, which that's what we have here. That's what it is. Okay, one part of the script. You got to dig. Joe did an excellent job on a 7-hour presentation that we did. And that's going to be the why. The close is important. Okay, very important. And when you close, you hush. You do not talk. Whoever talks next loses. If you want to lose, speak up and say, oh, I think you ought to get that in Mildred. No, don't do that. Sit there. Ball's in their court. You're done. You have told them what they qualify for and what it's going to cost. But the why, if you do not get the why, the one thing I've learned in the last 6 months is when people are calling me at the close, like they've been doing all morning, it's because they did not get the why. If you get the why, you're going to bring up the emotions Tim's talking about. I had an agent call me and say, I don't know what to do. This woman's crying. I said, get your pen out. Utilize that. That is what this is about. And if you're not the kind of person who wants to go out and help people, I honestly don't think you'll do very well. I don't. If you don't have an inspiration in your heart to want to go out and help people, I don't think you're going to make it. Now, some do that are jerks. I get that. I get that. But I truly feel each of us have a purpose in life. And the ones I see doing the best, the most successful, are driven by their want to help people. And if they're going to do that, they're going to find out, why did you send the card in? What's happened here lately? God forbid you don't have life insurance. What would happen if you died tonight? Where's that burden going to go? How would they feel about it? How would you feel about leaving that on them? You got to ask the hard questions. If you don't, you might as well not do it. I guess that's all I've got, Dave.
Great. Pass it on to Joe. Question for
Joe.
Joe. Excellent answer, David. Door knocking. Is it negotiable when you're selling final expense face to face?
No.
Easy answer, right? Excellent.
Door knocking is essential. If you do not want to become a stellar door knocker, do not become a face-to-face agent.
So how do you become a stellar? What makes for a great agent that door knocks? And when we say door knocks, for everybody at home here, we're talking about door knocking the leads, not cold knocking. So go into that, because it's really important to develop. Joe's excellent, does a great job training at it. Go ahead, Joe.
At the end of the day, you have to practice. You have to practice in front of the mirror. Learning to be a good door knocker is like learning to dribble a ball well in basketball. A coach can tell you how to dribble a ball. A coach can give you advice on techniques. But unless you sit there and do ball handling drills over and over again, you ain't going to become a good dribbler. It's the same with door knocking. You have to be willing to rebuttal over and over again and sit in front of the door, even when it's getting kind of awkward. Because if you're only going for prospects that will fall in, where when you're saying your door pitch initially, they're just waiting for you to shut up so they can invite you in to give you a cup of coffee. Guess what? Ain't enough in the economy. We got to train for everybody on the bench. So bottom line is, you have to rehearse your scripts and you have to practice in front of the mirror. And by doing those things, you're going to learn to loosen up. You're going to learn to find your middle ground of what is controlled enthusiasm, but not making it so much of a big deal, because you'll scare people away. If you got your sales tail coming out of your suit, these final expense prospects, they're going to think sales cycle, and they ain't going to let you in. So, but at the end of the day, everyone needs to practice door knocking if you're going to be in face-to-face. In front of the mirror, you got to critique your body language as well as what you say and how you say it.
Joe, what is, give us an example of a push-off or a pushback and a real reason why you wouldn't get in that door.
As far as their objections?
Yeah, because, what the point, most of them are just pushbacks.
Oh, yeah, they're going to say the same thing. I'm not interested. They're going to say it's a bad time. I will dare to say seniors are going to say I don't feel well. They felt fine watching TV and eating their cereal. Then Mr. Sales Guy came over and they got sick to their stomach. Now they don't feel good. No, but seriously, every single objection comes down to, I don't want to be in a sales cycle. I'm not interested. I don't want to be in a sales cycle. Can you email me something, because I don't want to be in a sales cycle? I have life insurance, therefore you don't need to talk to me and I don't need to be in a sales cycle. So we need to say, that's okay, no problem, that's perfectly fine, just takes a few minutes, whatever you do with it is entirely up to you. Should I take my shoes off before I come in? You got to be likable, friendly, you have to smile, and treat it like it's not a big deal, and they'll let you in the door. Yeah.
So question for Stephen. Of course, Stephen trains agents on selling annuities, and our volume has been tremendously higher really over the past 6 months. We were talking earlier how much more annuity business we're writing. And a lot of our agents are finding this business off of final expense leads. And so what I'd like you to speak on briefly, Stephen, is what are those agents like Tim saying or doing that is unearthing annuity opportunities in their final expense leads? Because I'm sure plenty of people here would love to add in another type of sales opportunity. So any insight on that?
Well, yeah, they're listening to my trainings. So yeah, Timothy in particular. What I love to hear is my voice coming out of other people's mouths. And what he talks about, he's a new agent. Let's talk about Timothy. Timothy's a good example. Timothy has all the enthusiasm of the misinformed. He goes out there with with, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to go and we're going to go move money. We're going to get into, and, and he is tenacious. He grabs onto something and he will get into people's financials and send me over a lot of information. And I'm kind of trying to quiet them down. But to answer David's question, I think what's caused a tripling exponential in annuity business is the fact that we are talking to agents that are seeing the same people that I see over and over and over again and ask you to do one more thing. Ask one more question. I don't know what the question is. Maybe it's the question of, while you were working and you were setting money aside, when you were doing and you'll see in my discussion, your nest egg money, your golden eggs. Where is that sitting today? How's it doing? One question, one or two questions. Timothy is he's earned his hubris orbs, and we got another guy who's gone to the bigger hubris orbs. We've got two different sizes. But it's the idea that, do you need a level of confidence? And I think the fact that we constantly show you that what one man can do, another can do. If I can go out there and do this, I'm not a salesman. I'm a teacher. You're a teacher. You're teaching things about insurance policies, life insurance policies, health insurance policies. Retirement plans is something that you can teach people. Taking risk out of your portfolios is something you can teach people. And all you have to do, as long as you're there, as long as you're there, it's the next one or two questions that get you going. Does that go for you? Okay.
Questions from the audience, anybody?
Question or two.
Yeah, let me come to you. Hold on one second.
Easy.
Hey, we answered all of them up front.
That's a good thing.
I go where?
All right, so I know many of us are like excited about the big annuity commissions and the sales. Now, coming into this new, is there a grace period you have to give yourself before you kind of tackle annuities? Like if you're starting off final expense?
Are you talking specifically for annuity?
Yeah, so let's say you're coming in as a new agent with final expense. Is there, because all of us are hearing all these big commissions that you can make with annuities. Is there some time you have to like give yourself before you tackle?
Let me see. I'm going to try to answer it better. Do I need that microphone?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I can talk into this one. Okay. First thing I want to say, and I'm going to get to that question, but when you were talking about objections at the door, one of the things that popped into my head, and I took a course in counseling years ago. And one of the things that they taught us was every obnoxious human behavior is a cry of pain and a call for help. I think if you had a different attitude about your objections that you get, that you could turn it around a little bit better. Remember, when people are at the door, that's an obnoxious human behavior, isn't it? Okay. What's he really saying to you? He's really saying, I need to protect myself right now. It's generally another agenda. You're getting a little too close. So keep that in mind. To get back to, and I want to speak specifically to your situation. So we spoke earlier, she's newer to the insurance industry. She's younger. How do you start with annuity? This is where I really think that final expense agents need to start writing policies first, because there's something in the confidence level of, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, that goes right over to larger situations. Right. Financial service advice. Financial service advice is very similar to banking. It's a little bit more complicated. What I do is I with our structure is we don't have you look at all carriers, we have you look at the best carriers. Take a look at the best carriers, take a look at the best options. That's my job. My job is to get those folks that you pay attention to be the best people available. Just like when we talk about, top tier carriers for insurance. If it's Trinity Life, if that's the best carrier for that purpose, then yeah, that's the one you go to. Well, with us, it's Athene and American Equity. But to get back to your question, so a new person starting out, I would have to say, if you could run with somebody. I learned my industry by running with somebody, and it wasn't available to me. You can now run with somebody. You can get on every Tuesday. The people that do business and write business, I see them on my broadcasts on every Tuesday. And we're talking business. We're talking about situations that you're in over your head. How do I handle it? Well, talk to a guy who's not over his head when you get there, because I'll show you that the water's not that deep. All you have to do is put your feet on the bottom and you can swim. Or even if you can't swim, just stand in the water and just be there for a while, and we'll try to, to get that business issue to you. But it would be hard to start as a new agent.
I'll add to this too. I think that the consistency of training that we've done has really been one of the sole reasons we've gotten a lot more production in the annuity business, because we're constantly talking about annuities, what you need to do, what you need to ask, et cetera. And I do think personally that annuities are a bit of an easier sell than even Medicare.
Yeah.
I think really we overestimate all this money we're going to move. It's a big deal, but sales is sales on some level, guys. And I think as you get into final expense and you start knowing and learning the fundamentals of good sales, that parlays over to everything, parlays over to annuity, Medicare, et cetera. So I think starting, that would be my answer. Think about final expense. I promise you, you're going to run across somebody somewhere that's got some money. And then you'll know when, at that point, to start selling annuities. I'm coming. Please.
So should we kind of start incorporating that one little eagle golden egg nesting question as a new agent, so that we can kind of start prospecting them, or don't do it yet? Or call them back, or like, how do we?
Again, it depends on the lead that you're going in on. So if you're going in on a final expense lead, sell what's in front of you. If that's what your purpose is there for, sell what's there. If it's not there, okay, the rebuttal of I don't need to. I have money in the bank when my kids, that person, to me, pivots from, these guys are pit bulls. They'll go after their final. I'll pivot and I'll go, oh really? So let's talk about that money, and then I'll go right into an annuity presentation for me. But if you're a new agent, it's a little tricky. If you've got years and years of experience dealing with people's financial retirement plans and putting them in safety without risk of market loss, and actually improving their situations so significantly that you can walk away from that person and know that they're going to pass in comfort, and they wouldn't have had they not seen you. That's the kind of impact I've had in my life working with annuities. Very significant. But it's not nearly as important to me as watching the eyes light up in people, you young fellas, that are going, holy moly, I've been studying this industry, and now all of a sudden I just asked a couple of more questions, and $500,000 gets put in my, for commission. $500,000 in commission, folks. It's 30 grand. And they're still doing the final expense work that they're doing, and they're adding to it. I think it's a lucrative opportunity, but I think I'm also special. But I will say this, I can teach what I know to other people, and I can put the tool in place that if you can get to a presentation, I can get you to the close. If you can get back and say, hey, Stephen, I'm going on a presentation, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. And Ryan, let's talk about, just briefly, you had to do a presentation on a very smart lady. When you got there, did I give you the tools to move that $500,000 away from a licensed financial advisor?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Fluff it up a little bit. Make me sound good. Come on.
Yeah. So, yeah.
This was a brilliant piece of work on my part. He just showed up.
I want to know the
Yeah.
story.
So essentially, it was just a matter of asking the right questions whenever it comes down to, very simply, I just asked, do you currently have any life insurance or annuities in place? And it just led to the finding that she had plenty of money that really was not in the right place, and she was not being treated well by her financial advisor, unfortunately.
Yeah, don't be surprised that these folks are not doing a good job for seniors. Okay, they're putting their money at risk. This particular situation, I went through just the overall. We knew this guy was a little shady. We took it all. The man that managed this woman's money does not, well, we're still working on what, 26,000, and we started at right around 400. Okay, so we're moving all the money over. Yeah. Anyway, I got a little, David's giving me the cut. Don't.
Yeah, so would you say that annuities, that's more of like a face-to-face kind of like deal, or can you leverage things like Zoom to potentially offer that for?
We're still looking into it. If we can ever get the laziest six-figure annuity guy to actually do what David's ideas are, you know, he bought me a bunch of cameras and everything. The idea was to set up a website. I never got around to it, but we started training everybody, and that worked out real good. But we still have things sitting on the table that we're going to look at. Can we go to Zoom? Can we entice? But it's a project we haven't worked on yet. It's in the works.
Question for Tim. The speed at which you follow up with your leads for telesales, can you expound upon that and its importance?
Yeah. So speed to lead is extremely important. It'll account for approximately 50% of your business, anywhere from 30 to 50%. There was a Harvard study over 10 years ago, back when internet leads kind of just started. They bought 300,000 leads back when they were pennies, and they extrapolated the data and found that if you called the leads back within 5 minutes, that the person was typically still sitting there, and they'll pick up the phone at somewhere between 500 to 800% increased amount. So just getting back to them within that 5-minute window, you'll get a much, much higher pickup rate. Doesn't mean they always pick up by any means. You still need to triple dial them. But they also found that you will have a much longer conversation with them with this sort of average talent level. So longer conversations equal getting to price in our business. And so it absolutely equals more sales. If you do not do that, you're not SOL, like you still have a chance. You're just going to be grinding those leads as prescribed hundreds of times a day. So you either do it or you do both, and actually you should just do both. So speed to lead and then grinding hundreds of dials in the beginning until you can finally get to the place where your business model is so has so much volume in it that you can basically just take self-set appointments all day and do your speed to lead. But I think speed to lead always occurs in a good model where you're milking the most profit out of it. You should always be calling your leads within 5 minutes.
David Heath, appointment setting for face-to-face agents. This has been one of the things I think you and I can agree on has been a huge help for our agents to run more appointments and make more sales. Can you kind of expand on how we do it and some tips you could give the audience and how to make it work for them?
Yes, yes. And kind of going back to what Stephen was saying, you've got to learn to sell. I think Chris even talked about it. You've got to learn to sell first, okay, before you do anything else. If you don't get that, I call it the cornerstone of the building. All buildings are built on one piece that holds that building up, the start of it. If you can't get that, don't worry about jumping to anything else. Get that first. But this is a way that we can scale our business. Once we're out doing the activity level that we need to be doing, which when I started out was sun up to after sundown, 6 days a week, running wide open. That's what you got to do. You got to do it whether you're calling or you're driving. It doesn't matter. But appointment setting allows you to get your direct mail in, first of all, and give it over to an individual that you pay to call through these people. Now, what they do, they set up you a calendar. You've got other leads in that zip code because we're using direct mail. So we're going to target an area. And then as you're running your appointments, you're going to door knock the other ones that are in line with them. So it takes a lot of strategic planning. I told you if you don't have a plan, don't worry about it. You got to have a plan in everything you do. But the appointment setting is going to free up your time because Tim mentioned ROI. Well, am I making money sitting on the phone calling people if I'm face to face? No, usually not. I need to be out talking to people face to face. So that appointment setter is going to free up that time. When I started, Monday and Thursday were call days. It's just the way it was in my plan. That took out 2 days of being in the field that I could have been making money, but I was setting appointments. So at a certain point, you've got to give that away. With everything else, you've got to hire somebody to do that for you. And that grows your business, and it's just going to take you to level after level. Anything else that I didn't hit on that?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me come over here with the mic so the people at home can hear.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Sam.
What would you recommend paying an appointment setter?
Okay, this is where me and Mr. Duford may differ, possibly. Okay, I don't like to pay per appointment. That's just my opinion. That is not everybody else's opinion. I'm selling to people with a budget, right? I got a budget too. I try to pay $155 a week, no matter how many appointments they set for me. That's my goal. Now, it's not easy to negotiate people to that level sometimes, but I've been able to do it because I've done it so long. I've kept the same group of people setting for me, and of course, the agents on the broker side, are able to take advantage of that also. But yeah, I set a good rate that you can afford.
So how many hours is that?
They call.
Are you using stateside callers or outside?
Mine are from Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah, I need Southern folks.
Okay.
If you can't already tell that.
So at 150 a week, how many
yeah.
hours is that?
They call Tuesday, they call Monday for Tuesday, Tuesday for Wednesday, Wednesday for Thursday, Thursday for Friday. They average probably about, I'd say, 4.5 hours a day of calling because, as we know, a triple dial is 3 calls. We want to do that 3 times a day with the appointment setter, morning, afternoon, night. So they wear them out, and we're door knocking in between too, trying to help them, the ones they can't get on the phone.
Well, basically, you're paying them about $10 an hour, it sounds like. Because I think you said it sounds like about 12 hours,
Yeah.
12, 13 hours.
If they're really
Okay.
good, they may get it done quicker. I think that's an incentive for them, honestly.
Hey, David, how many leads are you giving your appointment setters?
20 to 25 minimum. And if you want to, we know you want to maximize, John. I would say 40.
Okay.
35 to 40, and David may say 50, honestly. But with an appointment setter, something I found out, it gets cumbersome if you give them too many. Direct mail doesn't age like the Facebook and the other digital leads. So let's save some for next week, is the way I look at it. But
So that's about 50 they're going to work the whole week?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And like with me, 25 leads generally gets me 15 appointments. So you can do the math. That's not bad. And then I'll door knock the rest.
The perspective I've had on appointment setting, you can definitely do more than 30, 40 leads. But I had 2 appointment setters at my peak.
Yeah.
One's the loneliest number in business, ladies and gentlemen, right? That's your bottleneck. When that one goes lame, you're in trouble. So that's why I had 2 appointment setters. I was working at my peak probably 80 to 100 direct mail a week. And I had split up. So if one, disappeared on me, because sometimes it happens, right? I could lean on somebody else to eventually hire and have that other person trained. So, but yeah, appointment setting is very good. Also, some other things that I've heard that have worked really well. I had a guy actually local here who was working for a while with appointment setter. He would incentivize beyond kind of the expected conversion rate with a higher price per set appointment. So he might pay $15 an appointment for the first 10, but then everyone after that he would pay 25, 40, 70. maybe ask, why would you pay so much more? Because the idea of hitting that huge number was a huge incentive to push that person from a marginal conversion rate to a very good one. And if you looked at his numbers, he was a very good salesperson, so it bore out. But even if he paid a little bit more, he got more out of his leads and got a higher return on investment. So does that make sense, everybody? So you just kind of incentivize the final bit of appointments. So that actually worked really well for me.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I kind of drew back when somebody said $10 an hour. It don't equate to that because I take care of people who take care of me. You know what I mean? If I go out and if I wrote 10 grand in a week, I might pay them $500-600. I'll be honest with you. I might send them on vacation, whatever, but you want to pay to keep them they make you money.
Yeah.
Remember that.
I'm a fan of overpaying
Yeah.
your people who work your business, because if you got somebody who's good, they're worth their weight in gold, man. So what, last call for questions here? Before we go eat? Alejandro?
This is for everybody. So for all the panel and also David, the matrix, keeping up with your numbers, like the dials,
Metrics.
how many leads, people you see. Can you guys elaborate more, not just for me, but for everybody else?
Can we what?
Joe, you want to start?
If you're trying to get a six-figure income in this business full-time, I would say, I'm going to say from a Facebook lead perspective, I'm going to say you're going to want at least 40 leads a week. You need to be selling anywhere from 1 to 5 on the really good end to 1 to 7. You get past one out of 7, you get to 1 out of 8 of your leads you're selling. 1 out of 9, 1 out of 10, you're going to get in trouble. 40 leads, what's that going to equate to? 8 to as even as low as 6, depending on how the premiums are going. There's going to be times where you're rocking and rolling, you get more than that. But I would say you need to buy leads every week. You need to buy 40 at minimum for full time. You need to do the activity. You need to train. As far as tracking your numbers, yes, you need to do that because you need to see where your deficiencies are at. Are you, as far as getting in the door, on the leads that we use, on the very low end, you need to get into 33, a third of those leads. You need to get in the door. You need to get into, hopefully you're getting into about half the homes, or you're at least flirting with it. Now, if you're doing direct mail, you should probably be getting half the homes. But even with Facebook, 33 to 50%, it is very important to track your numbers. Is your closing ratio in the home, is it between 40 to 60%? If it's lower than 40, you probably got some problems. If you're not getting to the door on at least 1 out of 3 of your leads total, you're going to have some problems. So you need to track those numbers, because then you can go back to the table to where you're practicing and you can work on what you need to work on.
Jim, you want to add the telesales side before we wrap it up?
Yeah, by the way, if you're face to face and you weren't writing what he was saying down because it's just like numbers and math, you've missed a crucial part of sales in general. It's one of the central pieces of the pie, which is counting or accounting for what you're doing. So in telesales, it's the same thing. We have to account for what we're doing. In any business, you have to account for what you're doing. You would think you have an accountant or somebody counting how much income do you have, how much expense did you have. You need to account for, you need to count things. Okay, that's all you're doing. But you need to do it because you can actually learn, you can grow faster, you can expedite that. The science behind it is very clear that if you account for what you're doing, you're typically going to be on the higher end of producers. Like it's much easier to produce more anyways for telesales. Let's get into that. If you buy 100 leads, I would recommend you're trying to get to about 200 leads. The top producers are closing only 4 or 5 out of those 100. If they're fresh and exclusive leads, This is all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about old leads. It's a totally different bunch of numbers. And who cares about that? Because you shouldn't be doing that. Do fresh and exclusive leads, 100, close 4 or 5, and you'll be just as good as, you know, the Johnny Nitafan or any of those people. He'll tell you he closes 4 or 5 out of 100. I would close 4 or 5 out of 100. I mean, it's just what it is. Could somebody close 8? Yeah, oh yeah, I've seen people close 8 out of 100, 10 out of 100 on telesales. Do you need to do that? No, not by any means. You need to get more leads at a cheaper price and purify your quality of leads and run your business and account for every aspect. So if you're asking me like, or any of these trainers, you know, what should I be working on? I'll ask you, what are your metrics? You know, tell me your numbers. And if you can't tell me that, I honestly have no idea. I don't know. And also, if you don't record your calls, which is a whole nother thing.
All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So let's give a round of applause to all the good managers. Appreciate you very much.